Okay, this is going to be the Cornelius houghtelin Farm, Part 6 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. We're actually going to take a look at two rooms, and as we stand here in this living room area, you'll notice the Civil War building because was the original outside wall of the 1809 structure. And the room we're going to walk into here was once the parlor, and this is the room where Cornelius houghtelin's body was lied in state here in this room on April the 9th, 1865, shortly after he passed away. The room was larger at the time. It included what's now the Graham's Battery room, because here's one of the front doors to the house, and then they would come in, view the body, and then go out the other door, which is now in the Graham's Battery room. And in this room, this 1809 parlor, there's a picture of Joshua Chamberlain over here on the wall, several paintings of Abraham Lincoln, sketches of Abraham Lincoln, and such. Now, the Graham's Battery room is our next room. Now, Graham's Battery was led by Captain William Montrose Graham. He was in Company K, and he was put into action by General Wesley Merritt, and he fired off the first shot of the battle at 2 p.m. on July 3rd, 1863. And a few things to notice here in the Graham's Battery room. This is a replica of their guide-on flag here. And then there's also a painting of Graham's Battery here above what was the fireplace. And then over here is also a painting of the houghtelin farm, an early painting of the houghtelin farm as well. And again, this was part of the original parlor, and today, if you stay here, this could be one of the other rooms as we tour the inside of the Cornelius houghtelin house and farm that you can stay in. And of course, this room is special because it's the original parlor. It's part of the original 1809 structure and has been wonderfully restored. This has been the Cornelius houghtelin Farm, Part 6, Graham's Battery Room on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Houghtelin Farm, Part 7. And today we're going to look more inside the house here, and we're going to go into the Rush's Pennsylvania Lancers room. So let's go ahead and take a look inside here now. And if you're fortunate enough to stay here at the houghtelin Farm in this room, we're going to point out a little bit about why the room is named after who it is. Now, Rush's 6th Pennsylvania Cavalry, also known as Rush's Lancers, were from Philadelphia. They were commanded here at the Battle of Gettysburg by Major James H. Houghtelin. And they were a part of the Reserve Brigade of the 1st Division of Cavalry under Wesley Merritt. Now, the detachment of Companies E and I to the Army headquarters was commanded by Captain Emlen Carpenter. The regiment's nickname came from being the only cavalry unit in the war armed with lances, which are also depicted on the monument out on the Emmitsburg Road. It was an idea, however, that proved to be impractical, as the cavalry moved through the tangled forests of northern Virginia early in the war. By July of 1863, the lances had been discarded, and we're going to look around the room here now. Of course, it's got this really nice looking bed. The view out the window is actually to the north, to where Rush's Lancers headed northward along the Emmitsburg Road. Over here in the room is a replica on the wall. If you stay in this room, you'll see a replica of Rush's Lancers Company E's guide-on flag, which shows their actions or battle honors from Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville. And then there's also an engraving done by Winslow Homer of Rush's Lancers 6th Pennsylvania Cavalry here. So again, this is the Rush's Lancers room as we look further into the Cornelius houghtelin farm. Here's also a bugle here on the wall. So this has been the Cornelius houghtelin farm, Part 7, the Russia's Lancers Room, here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Part 8, and we're going to be looking into the 1st Texas Infantry Room here. Let's go ahead and take a look inside here. And if you stay here at the Cornelius houghtelin farm, the Battlefield B&B, and you're fortunate enough to stay in the 1st Texas Room, you have 2 beds. And let's take a quick look at these beds here. This is a very spacious room. And it's a little strange because the 1st Texas really didn't play much of a role here in the battle on the houghtelin farm. Though they never fought on the houghtelin farm, General Longstreet and General John Bell Hood tried to persuade General Robert E. Lee on the afternoon of July 2nd to let them move around to the right. This is going to be a little bit of a secret of the battlefield as well. When Hood asked, and Longstreet asked General Lee to move around to the right, they wanted to move around to the right and then take the Federal Army from the rear behind Bushman and Big Round Top. Now, the road that you come in on off of the Emmitsburg Road that comes up here to the house, this original farm lane that's actually the entrance to the battlefield B&B in 1863 was the right. And I actually brought my map over here. We're going to take a look at the map that I use when I do my history tours here. Here's Confederate Avenue up here, the Emmitsburg Road coming southward by the Alexander Kearns farm down here to the Cornelius houghtelin farm. And what the proposal was by Hood and Longstreet was for the Confederates on July 2nd to move down the Emmitsburg Road to the houghtelin farm, take the farm lane, which was to the right, and then come up behind Bushman Hill and attack this way, instead of attacking as they did, starting at the Kearns farm, going across the Bushman farm to the Round Tops that way. Their original intention was to move to the right. Now, when you come in this room, there is a few paintings up over here. This one is of a 1st Texas sergeant over here, and this is a Michael Natter painting from 1996. Over here is General Robert E. Lee's headquarters flag, number 1, sitting here, and that's a Rick Reeves painting from 1994. And then behind this bed here, here is also another painting of Lee by Clyde Heron, which is called Lee Calls on Hood's Texans. And this is from the action of July 2nd. So again, in review, even though the 1st Texas wasn't directly involved in the battle here at the houghtelin farm, the original intention of Hood and Longstreet was to move to the right, which would have been the houghtelin farm lane, and attack from the rear. So that's why they have the honor of having a room here, and still do have some part here in the Cornelius houghtelin farm. So this has been the Cornelius houghtelin farm, Part 8, the 1st Texas Room, here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. The Cornelius houghtelin farm, Part 9, here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we're taking a look at the 7th Georgia Room here on the east side of the house, or today's back of the house. Now, the 7th Georgia was a part of George T. Anderson's Georgia Brigade, and they were detached on July 3rd from the rest of the Confederate Army to take part in the action down here on the Emmitsburg Road, or the extreme right flank of the Confederate Army. They were wheeled into position on the Emmitsburg Road, starting around the Alexander Kearns farm and moving southward down here toward the Cornelius houghtelin farm to help out Colonel John L. Black's 1st North Carolina Cavalry as they were engaged with Merritt's brigade. The 7th Georgia would end up being the savior of the battle along the Emmitsburg Road here at the Cornelious houghtelin farm, as they were the only infantry involved, and they would be a big part in pushing back the Federal cavalry under Brigadier General Wesley Merritt. Today, when you come into the 7th Georgia room, behind the bed you'll notice portraits of General Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson. Stonewall Jackson always was considered Lee's right arm. And of course, he was killed by a wound suffered by soldiers from his own Confederate Army at the Battle of Chancellorsville. And today, he rightfully takes his place to the right of General Lee. Now, he was not here at the Battle of Gettysburg, but it is often thought that if he had been here, there may have been a different outcome on July 1st, 1863, when the order by General Lee was given to take that hill if practicable. Now, of course, Richard Ewell did not find it practicable on the first day. Stonewall Jackson may have. So his portrait sits here to Lee's right side. There's also a replica guide-on flag of the 7th Georgia over here in the corner of the room. And then probably one of the neatest things is the painting over here called Into the Wheat Field. And this was done by Rick Reeves in 1994. And it's the 7th Georgia, also members of Anderson's Georgia Brigade, versus the 17th Maine at the Battle of Gettysburg on July 2nd, 1863. Of course, we did cover both the 7th Georgia and the 17th Maine in our Devil's Den video series. But this is a painting of the 7th Georgia as part of Anderson's brigade fighting in the wheat field against the 17th Maine just the day before on July 2nd, 1863. And of course, the 7th Georgia fights in the wheat field, the Devil's Den area, on July 2nd. And then, of course, on July 3rd, they're brought back down on the Emmitsburg Road just after the action of Pickett's charge to take part in this action of Federal cavalry under command of Brigadier General Wesley Merritt attempting to turn the right flank of the Confederate Army. So again, this is the Georgia room. If you stay here at the Cornelious houghtelin farm, also known as the Battlefield Bed and Breakfast, you can get to stay in this room. It's a really nice sized room with a big bed and a bathroom and some nice old antique style furniture. This has been the Cornelious houghtelin farm, part 9, here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. This is going to be the Cornelious houghtelin farm, part 10, here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we are here at the Hart's Battery Room as a part of the Cornelious houghtelin farm series that we're doing. And we're going to look at the Hart's Battery Room now. Now, this battery was actually positioned along the Emmitsburg Road near the Alexander Curran's farm on July 3rd, 1863, backing John L. Black's 1st North Carolina Cavalry. They began to fire artillery in defense against William Montrose Graham's artillery had been firing northbound along the Emmitsburg Road. When you stay here at the Battlefield B and B, and you stay in Hart's Battery Room, it got a really cool looking bed. And of course, my favorite, the kitty cat pillow over here. But one of the things that you see when you come into this room, and it's one of those things that doesn't get often talked about, is a painting done by Deanna Neary entitled "Till Death Do Us Part." And it depicts a member of this artillery, of Hart's artillery, a lieutenant who had performed very well in battle before, and was given a furlough to go home and marry his sweetheart. He returns to battle and then is killed at the Battle of Gettysburg on July 3rd, 1863. And of course, this depicts something that is often forgotten when researching and studying the American Civil War, the suffrage of women at home, how they stayed at home and worried about their men, if they would ever return, or if they did return, if they would be wounded and maimed for the rest of their lives. And this wedding portrait here, painting, called Till Death Do Us Part, is a sad reminder that you see when you stay here in this room, the Hart's Battery room. Also, it is a part, the wall here that faces the north is actually a part of the original stone foundation from 1809. So you get a little bit of the original house in your room, even though this room is an addition that was added on. Like I said, it's got a really cool looking bed, and then of course its own private bathroom here on the side. And then one of the views that I like the best in this room is the view of the road to the right, which is the original Cornelious houghtelin farm lane that sits right out here, comes off the Emmitsburg Road. And we talked about this in our first 4 parts on how it related to the road to the right that General John Bell Hood and the 1st Texas wanted to take to try to get either behind the Round Tops on July 2nd or to get behind the Union Army, use this road to get behind the Union Army and head toward Washington, pick a piece of high ground out, and then force the Federal Army to attack them. And of course that plan was not used, and of course the glorious Battle of July 2nd ended in a stalemate after Little Round Top was not captured. So this is a view of the famous road to the right that we talk about in our video series. This has been the Cornelious Houghtelin Farm Part 10 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook.